Okay, so in this lecture, we're going to talk about mixture problems or mixing problems. This is in continuation with, the elementary applications in differential equation. In this type of application, we'll be applying or we'll be using linear equation or we'll be encountering linear equation. The objective of solving such problem is to find the amount of substance in the container at any time t. So let us denote x of t. Can x as a function of t be the amount of substance in the container at any time t? And for the rate of change of the amount of substance inside the container at any time t, it will be represented by dx over dt, which is equal to the difference of the rate of inflow into the container or tank, which is, referred to as the rate in, and the rate of outflow out of the container or the rate out. So basically, the rate of change to the amount of substance in the container at any time t is equal to rate in minus rate out. Okay, so as you can see in this illustration, we have a container or a tank, and there's a solution, entering or is being poured into the tank, and there is also an outlet or the output where the mixed solution or the substance being mixed, okay, into the container is being drained out of the tank. Pwedeng simultaneous lang, di ba? Meron kang ditong, or initially you have a pure substance or kung meron mang mixture dito sa loob ng container, and then you poured something into the container or tank, and while pouring it with, of course, a flow rate and a different concentration of the substance, binuksan mo yung outlet, di ba? So, nakawalan mo to or gusto mong i-drain siya. So, for example, mas mabilis yung flow rate nito kumpara dun sa pag-enter or pagpasok ng solution. So, the question is, what's the amount of substance after a long time? Ayan, kasi nga, di ba, nag-mix ka dito. A pure substance mixed by a different solution or pwedeng may solution ka dito and then added by another solution. So, maaaring tumaas yung concentration. That's the idea of this problem. So, ano yung mga dapat i-consider natin? So, for the input, we have the R sub I. The R sub I represents the flow rate. Yung C sub I naman is the concentration in. So, yan yung concentration itong substance or solution being poured into the tank. Ganun din dun sa output natin, you have a flow rate. So, this flow rate could be the same flow rate ng mismong substance na pumapasok doon sa ating tank. Or pwedeng magkaiba sila. Mas mababa, ito kumpara dito sa ating flow rate in. Or ito yung mas mabilis. Okay, mas mabilis yung flow rate out kumpara dun sa, mas mataas kumpara dun sa flow rate in. You also have to consider, diba, yung concentration palabas. Mag-iba siya dun sa concentration in, knowing that, diba, you mix something in this or in the solution dito sa loob ng tank or pwedeng pure substance mixed by a salt solution or any other solutions. Okay, now dito naman sa loob ng tank, syempre you have to consider yung mismong volume ng tank. So pwedeng puno siya initially with a pure substance. Yung amount ng substance represented by x. Hindi ito x times t. This is x as a function of t or x of t. And the concentration is equal to the amount of substance over volume. So it's just like parang density lang kasi the amount of substance is measured in terms of mass. Ayan, measured like kilograms or pounds. And the volume, alam niyo naman yung unit ng volume, right? You have liters, you have gallons, you have cubic meters, cubic centimeters. Those are the examples of the unit of volume. So for the concentration, since this is equal to the amount over volume, so mass over volume siya. So kilogram per liter, pounds per gallon. So yun yung mga example ng unit ng concentration. So let me just share to you again the equation. So dx over dt is the rate of change of the amount of substance in the container at any time t equal to the rate of inflow or rate in minus rate of outflow or rate out. So, paano natin kinocompute yung rate in? Rate in is actually the product of the concentration and the flow rate. So, C re, para dun sa input. C sub I times R sub I minus, yan, rate of outflow. So, this is concentration out times the flow rate out. Now, let me just write yung mga units. Importante na when you solve problems like, mixture problem, kasi madaming parameters dito. Meron kang volume, may concentration ka, may amount ng substance, may flow rate. So, dapat consistent sa units. Tsaka may time din kasi yung time could be represented by, pwedeng yung time mo is in minutes, in seconds, in hours. Okay, I'll be writing, the mga example na units. Yan. For the amount of substance, so yung units na involved dito, tandaan na, yung amount, pwedeng kilograms, pounds, yan yung mga example na units ng amount ng substance. For the volume, we have liters, pwedeng gallons, for cubic meters or cubic centimeter or cc. For the concentration, since concentration is equal to the amount of substance over volume, so the unit is amount, diba? So kilogram per liter, pounds per gallon, SI pala kapag kilogram per liter, English naman pag pounds per gallon. Yan, dapat consistent sa units. For time, so ano yung mga unit natin for time? So sabi ko nga, pwedeng seconds, pwedeng minutes, ayan, hours, ayan, etc. So yung flow rate natin, ayan, remember this, the flow rate is equal to the volume over time. So yung volume over time, ang unit nito will be what? For example, liter per minute. Pwede rin siyang gallons per minute. Tandaan nyo to ha, formula na to. Okay, I think that's it. So if you check now, di ba? Kasi nga yung result nito, di ba? dx over dt. X, anong unit ng X ng amount? So for example, pounds. Ano yung example ng ating unit ng time? So sige, sabihin natin minutes. So pound per minute. Ano na to ha? Dimensional analysis lang para makita nyo na okay, dapat ito yung maging result niya. So having presented that the rate of change is equal to rate in minus rate out. So let's analyze the units. So concentration, yan, the unit is, since I'm using English, so pounds per gallon, no? Lagay ko dito, pounds per gallon. Okay, that's for concentration in. So multiplied by the flow rate, which is in gallons per minute. Minus, yan, concentration out, the same unit lang din yan. So pounds per gallon with the C sub I times flow rate out is gallons per minute. As you can see, pwede na makancel yung gallons dito, di ba? So anong natira? Pounds per minute. Dapat ganun. So bawat term, the same silang units. So ito, cancel na rin yung gallon. Okay, let's solve. And example number 1. A tank initially contains 40 gallons of pure water. A salt solution containing 2 pounds of salt per gallon of water is poured into the tank at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. The mixture is stirred and is drained out of the tank at the same rate. So kung yung yung flow rate in is 3 gallons per minute, 3 gallons per minute din yung flow rate out. Now, tatlo yung hanapin natin. So letter A, find the amount of salt in the tank at any time t. Expression ito ang hinahanap dito. Find the amount of salt in the tank after half hour. Since you've seen that yung time na involved is in minutes, so we can convert half an hour 2 minutes. So that's 30 minutes. Letter C, find the amount of salt in the tank after a long time. Long time, hindi siya specific, no? So, ibig sabihin, parang forever. So, infinity ang ibig sabihin lang nito. So, at time is equal to infinity. Now, let's write the given first. So, ganun lagi, if you are to write your solution, you start writing the given first. In this problem, you can see antong 40 gallons. 40 gallons is the volume. So, V is equal to 40 gallons. What else? You have 2 pounds per gallon. So 2 pounds per gallon is what? An asphalt solution is poured into, yan yung concentration. Concentration in, papasok siya dun sa mismong tank, is equal to 2 pounds per gallon. Poured into the tank at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. So this 3 gallons per minute is the R sub I. So you write 3 gallons per minute. So sa given pa lang, doon mo na ilalagay yung mga units para sa mismong solution kahit na hindi mo na isulat yung mga units. Since we have C sub I and R sub I, we need to know yung C sub O natin, ano nga ba, tsaka yung R sub O. Nabanggit dito na, di ba, hinalo yung mismong, hinalo yung mixture and is drained out of the tank at the same rate. So ito yung R sub O nire-represent. Ito is 3 gallons per minute because it says, and the same rate daw. So 3 gallons per minute. Now for the concentration out, hindi niya binigay, di ba, yung specific, di ba, na value. So ano nga ba yung concentration? Again, concentration is equal to the amount of substance over the volume. Dahil same lang sila ng flow rate in, so walang problema sa volume. Kung ano yung volume na to, yun yung gagamitin natin. So over 40. Diba hinalo mo? Kaso mag-iba lang yung mismong amount niya yung nasa loob ng mismong tank. Kasi initially, di ba, pure water siya. Nung hinaluan mo na siya ng salt solution, mag-iba na yung mismong concentration, right? So imbis na 2 pounds per gallon, so it will be what? You don't know yet, no? So lagay mo dito X. So the concentration out is X over 40. So amount over volume. Ano pa yung condition dito? Sige, check natin. A tank initially contains 40 gallons of pure water initially. So at time is equal to 0. Our concern is the amount, amount of salt inside the tank. So ano yung amount ng salt sa tank initially? Since nabanggit dito na pure water siya, so you're right, diba? X is equal to 0. So this condition will be used later to solve for the arbitrary constant. So ayan, binibigyan ko na kayo ng idea. Yung magiging equation natin is linear equation. Sulat natin yung required. The next part is kung ano yung hinahanap. So letter A, so find the amount at any time t, kaya ito yung representation. So x of t. Sa letter B, ang hinahanap dito is the amount of salt after half hour daw. So half an hour is 30 minutes. And letter C is the amount of salt in the tank after a long time. So this is infinite or infinity. So for our solution, you start by writing the equation since it involves mixture or mixing problem ito. Then sabi nga the rate of change to the amount of substance or dx over dt is equal to the rate in minus the rate out. And what again is the equivalent of rate in? So rate in is equal to the product of the concentration in times the flow rate in. And the rate out is concentration out times the flow rate out. Now, we plug in dito. Kaya nabanggit ko kanina na isulat nyo na yung units doon sa ating given para pagdating doon sa solution, hindi mo na kailangan ilagay yung units kasi baka malito ka pa. So ito ha, Check the units. Consistent naman lahat. Ayan. Pounds per gallon, gallon per minute, and gallons per minute, gallons. Okay, ano yung unit ng amount? Pounds. So ito, pounds per gallon din to. So C sub I is 2 pounds per gallon. So you write 2 times. And pounds per gallon yan, and the flow rate in is 3 gallons per minute. So makancel yung gallons. Anong magiging unit? It's pounds per minute. So this is 3 minus C sub O is X over 40. And times the same, di ba, yung flow rate niya palabas. So times 3. Now this is now our equation. So we arrange this into standard forms. Nabanggit ko nga kanina, di ba, this linear equation. As you can see, X is in this ordinary derivative, X is the dependent variable and T is the independent variable. So it means that ayan, we have to transpose this to the left side of the equation. Para maging standard form siya, dx over dt, transposing this to the left side will become ayan, positive 3 over 40 times x, linear siya in x, equal to this right side of the equation, which is and 2 times 3 is 6. This is now our linear equation. So this is linear in x. So yung independent variable mo is t. That's why yung p as a function of t mo dyan is 3 over 40. And your q as a function of t is 6. And kahit constant yan, it still represents the independent variable na t. Okay, why did I write this one? Para ma-determine natin yung integrating factor. That's the next step in solving for linear equation. Yung una is you put the equation into standard form and then you solve for the integrating factor. So the integrating factor is, the formula is yan, I equals e raised to the integral of p as a function of t times dt equals, yan, t siya kasi nga independent variable natin is t. E raised to p of t is 3 over 40. Since constant yan, ilalabas na natin siya dun sa integral symbol. So 3 over 40 integral of dt. So the answer is e raised to 3 over 40 times t. This is our integrating factor. The next step is to multiply this integrating factor to the standard form of the linear equation. So e raised to 3 over 40 times t, multiplying this to the standard form, dx over dt plus 3 over 40 times x equals 6. Once you multiply the standard form by an integrating factor, magiging exact na yung equation natin. And the left member is always the product of the independent variable and the product of the dependent variable and the integrating factor na na-solve natin. So sige, ito na yung pinaka-shortcut. Tuturo ko na lang. So integrating factor times the dependent variable and equals to the integral of yung q as a function of t times the integrating factor and times dt plus c ka na dyan. Ito na yung formula. Para hindi na natin siya isa-isahin pa katulad ng sa linear. Dahil ito na yung pinaka-equation natin na we multiplied this standard form of the linear equation by integrating factor. Ito na ngayon yung ating equation. So integrating factor is e raised to 3 over 40 times t. And what is the dependent variable? X. So times x equals the integral of what is our q of t. Yung nasa right side ng equation natin, which is 6. So 6 times the integrating factor, which is e raised to 3 over 40 times t dt. Okay, plus the arbitrary constant c. Ganun lang yan. So solving for this, Yeah, an exponential function. So what do we need here? So e raised to u du. And integral of that is e raised to u. So what is our u here? U is equal to 3 over 40 and t times t. So the du should be what? 3 over 40 times dt. So you have dt here. So you just need to have a neutralizing factor. So if you put here 3 over 40 para masatisfy natin yung formula, you need to neutralize that. So kung naglagay ka ng 3 over 40 dito, so lagyan mo ng 40 over 3 sa labas. Para wala kang ma-violate na rule doon sa pag-integrate. Ayan. So it's as if that you multiply this expression by 1. Okay, so kung muna ulit nasa left member ng equation natin is e raised to 3 over 40 times t times the dependent variable na x equals, balikan natin to. So this is 40 over 3. So tapos times 6 kasi yung constant naman na to, pwede nating ilabas. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 40, 80. And so 80 times the integral of e raised to 3 over 40. And satisfied na to. So the answer to that is e raised to 3 over 40 times t plus the arbitrary constant c. Okay, that's our general solution. We need to solve for x kasi yung x is the amount of substance in the container or tank. So we need to simplify our equation or cancel natin to. So how do we do that? We multiply the entire equation by what? 1 over e raised to 3 over 40 times t or pwedeng yung kanyang negative na counterpart. So e raised to negative 3 over 40 times t. Okay, or ano lang to guys? Or this is 1 over e raised to 3 over 40 times t. Same lang yan sila. The equation now is x equals, so 80 times e raised to 3 over 40 times t multiplied by this one. Maka-cancel na to. So times 1 plus, but din dito ha. So multiplying this exponential function by its negative or by its reciprocal. Maka-cancel na yan. Plus c e raised to negative 3 over 40 times t. Now, the next step is to solve for the expression, the amount of salt at any time t. Sabihin lang ito, di ba? We need to solve for the arbitrary constant c para ma-determine natin yung x of t or x as a function of t. And what's the condition again? Sabi natin, initially, so at time is equal to 0, the amount of salt in the tank is 0 kasi nga pure water siya. So plug in lang natin dito. So 0 yung amount equals 80 plus c e raised to negative 3 over 40 times 0. 0 times negative 3 over 40 is 0. E raised to 0 is 1. So the value of the arbitrary constant c, transposing this to the other side, it will become negative. So negative 80 yung ating arbitrary constant. You plug in the value of this constant to the general solution. That's why we have x as a function of t equal to 80 minus 80 times e raised to negative 3 over 40 times t. Or you can factor out 80. So x, pwede lang ilagay mo x dito. Kasi baka malito ka pa na nag-times t ka. Hindi to times t ha. X as a function of t yan. So 80 times 1 minus e raised to negative 3 over 40 times t. The unit of this is in pounds. So this is now the answer to letter A, the amount of salt in the tank or in the container at any time t. Now, we can utilize this expression to solve for letter B. Yan. So letter B, ang hinahanap is the amount of salt after 30 minutes. Okay, what you'll do is you utilize this expression, you plug in the value of time, which is 30 minutes, and to solve for the amount. X is equal to 80 times 1 minus e raised to negative 3 over 40 times the time, which is 30 minutes. So using a calculator, you can determine now the amount, which is, so the answer is 71.57 pounds. This is the amount of salt after 30 minutes. Let's now proceed to letter C. Letter C, the amount of salt after a long time. T is infinite or infinity. So ang gawin lang natin, utilizing this expression again, that's letter A. So X is equal to 80 times 1 minus e raised to negative 3 over 40 times infinite, positive infinity. So as you can see here, let me just change the color so that I can present to you the equivalent of multiplying infinity by a small number. Ayan, you know naman na if you multiply negative 3 over 40, this is very small, times a big number. So it will become what? Negative infinity yan. So this one becomes negative infinity. And you know that e raised to negative infinity is equal to what? 1 over e raised to infinity. And e raised to infinity is simply infinity. 1 over infinity is 0. Kaya itong part na to will be cancelled or maging 0 siya. So what happens here is 1 minus 0 is 1. So 1 times 80 is 80. This is actually the limiting amount. Kasi yun yung parang, okay, hanggang dyan lang. Diba? After a long time, i-drain out mo na siya. The amount of salt in the tank after a long time will be equal to 80 pounds. So that's it. Tandaan ha. Sinabi natin na e raised to negative infinity, that is equal to 0. And negative of a small number times a very big number is equal to the negative. Yeah, kasi di ba unlike sign sila. Okay, example number 2. Initially, 50 pounds of salt are dissolved in a 300-gallon tank, and then a salt solution with a concentration of 2 pounds of salt per gallon of solution flows into a tank at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. The solution inside the tank is kept well stirred and flows out of the tank at the same rate as that at which it flows in. So you find the amount of salt in the tank at any time t. Again, the expression of the amount of salt. Letter B, find the concentration of salt in the tank at any time. Letter C, find the limiting amount of salt in the tank. Ito yung at time is equal to infinity, limiting amount. And letter D, find the limiting concentration of the salt in the tank. Okay? So you write the given first. So initially, 50 pounds of salt are dissolved in a 300-gallon tank. So initially daw. So time is equal to 0. The amount of salt in the tank is 50 pounds. So meron na palang din yung salt. No? So 50 pounds siya. Unlike, di ba, yung earlier na example, pure substance or pure water siya. Tapos yung volume na involved, it is actually a 300-gallon na tank. A salt solution with concentration is poured. So yung ating C sub I is equal to 2 pounds per gallon. Ayan, 2 pounds per gallon. Tapos yung flow rate niya is 3 gallons per minute. So it has a flow rate, R sub I, 3 gallons per minute. How about for concentration out? We don't know. Yeah, we don't know yet. pero yung flow rate out niya is the same dun sa flow rate in. So I'll write here C sub O. I don't know the amount over volume, which is fixed naman siya. So 300. 300 yung volume na i-divide ko, guys, kasi hindi naman magbabago the same kasi yung flow rate, the idea of the flow rate. You know that the flow rate is equal to volume over time. Okay, take note of this, ha. Pero kapag magkaiba sila ng flow rate, ayan, mababawasan na yung mismong volume or pwedeng madagdagan siya. Nagkuha niyo ba yung idea? Kasi kunyari, mas mabilis yung paglabas ng solution kaysa sa pagpasok ng mismong solution doon sa mismong container. So, ang ibig sabihin lang, mababawasan yung volume ng tank. Pero kapag mabagal yung paglabas kumpara doon sa pagpasok ng solution, nadadagdagan yung mismong volume, di ba? So, parang aapaw na siya hanggang sa mapuno. Basta ganun yung idea kung may space pa doon sa you're draining it pero mababa yung flow rate out niya tapos mas mabilis yung pagpasok. So yan. Madadagdagan yung volume ng concentrate ng mismong solution. So that's the idea. Ito, same lang yung flow rate out tsaka yung flow rate in. So parehong 3 gallons per minute. Okay, so let me write the required. Letter A, ang hinahanap is X of T. Ito yung expression, di ba, ng amount of salt. Letter B, concentration naman. So C of T. Letter C is the amount of salt. Limiting amount, di ba? So yung time is infinity. Ganon din dun sa letter D, limiting concentration siya. So C at time is equal to infinity. Now we start solving. So una muna, kahit alam mo na yung magiging solution na linear siya, we first write the linear equation. So the rate of change dx over dt is equal to rate in, which is c sub I times r sub I minus c sub o times r sub o. Okay, so dx over dt is equal to, check the units kung okay naman, pasok and pounds per gallon ito. Consistent naman tayo sa units. So c sub I is 2, r sub I is 3, minus c sub o is x over 300 multiplied to r sub o, which is 3. And this will be what? So dx over dt, making this linear in standard form. Transpose this one. So x times 3, so 3x over 300, that is x over 100, right? So transposing this to the left side of the equation, this will be x over 100. Cancel lang natin to. 100 siya. Equals 6. Now, this is now the linear equation and in standard form. So we solve now the integrating factor, which is e raised to the integral of ano yung ating p as a function of t? That is 1 over 100. And our q as a function of t is 6. So ibig sabihin lang, 1 over 100 dito times dt. And the integrating factor is e raised to t over 100. Now you multiply this to the standard form. So e raised to t over 100. Importante na ipapakita niyo pa rin sa akin na yung pag-multiply. So dx over dt. And then after nito, proceed ka na dun sa shortcut na tinuturo ko. X over 100 equals 6. So multiplying the standard form by an integrating factor makes the equation exact. Therefore, the left member is always the product of the integrating factor, e raised to t over 100, times the dependent variable na ginagamit dito, or yung present dun sa equation, equals the integral of q as a function of t, so 6 times the integrating factor, e raised to t over 100, times dt, and plus c. So the same lang din kanina, di ba? You need to have a neutralizing factor kasi para ma-satisfy natin at ma-solve yung exponential function, dapat ito ay dt over 100 din, no? So if you divide it by 100, you multiply here by 100. So the answer to this is e raised to t over 100 times x equals 6 times 100 is 600 e raised to t over 100 plus c. Now moving on to the next page. Solving for x. Dapat x lang yung nasa kaliwa. So what we will do here is, ito, we multiply the entire solution by 1 over e raised to t over 100, or simply e raised to negative t over 100. Para makancel yung e raised to t over 100 sa left side. So this will become x equals 600. Yan, balikan natin. Cancel na rin to. Yan. Plus c e raised to negative t over 100. This is general solution. Now we move on to letter A, solving for the amount of substance at any time t. The condition is that initially the amount is equal to, going back to the given, and 50 pounds. So 50 pounds amount. So plugging in here, so 50 equals 600 plus c e raised to negative yung 0, and maging 0 na rin to, guys. So negative 1 over 100 times 0 is 0. E raised to 0 is 1. So c is equal to 50 minus 600. It's negative 550. So x of t is equal now to 600 minus 550 times e raised to negative t over 100. The unit is in pounds. So you enclose this as your final answer. Now, letter B, you are asked to solve for the concentration at any time t. And you know the formula of concentration is equal to the amount at any time t over the volume. So you write here, C as a function of t is equal to this one, 600 minus 550 times e raised to negative t over 100 all over the volume, which is, going back here, the volume is 300 gallons. So 300. Therefore, c as a function of t is equal to, and pwede mo lagyan ng as a function of t and as a function of t. Understood na yan. So 600 divided by 300 is 2 minus and 550 divided by 300. And simplify natin to. This is, paki-check nga, 11 over 6 ba? Times e raised to negative t over 100. So that is the concentration of salt in the tank at any time t. So the unit for this, and lagyan mo ng unit, so amounts of pounds per gallon. Now for letter C, what is the limiting amount? So x if time is equal to infinity. So gamit itong expression, so x is equal to 600 minus 550 times e raised to, so negative 1 over 100 times infinity is negative infinity, and e raised to negative infinity is 0. Kaya magiging 0 na yung second term. So the amount, the limiting amount is 600 pounds. Now for letter D, limiting concentration. Yan. Gamitin natin tong expression. So C is equal to 2 minus 11 over 6. E raised to negative 1 over 100 times infinity is e raised to negative infinity, which is 0. So 0 tong second term. The limiting concentration is 2 pounds per gallon. That's it. So these are your answers for example number 2. Example number 3, last example. So a large tank contains 100 gallons of brine in which 10 pounds of salt is dissolved. Brine containing 0.2 pounds of salt per gallon runs into the tank at the rate of 6 gallons per minute. The mixture, and kept uniform by stirring, runs out of the tank at the rate of 4 gallons per minute. Find the amount of salt in the tank after 10 minutes. Okay, what have you observed? What have you noticed? Yan, 6 gallons per minute yung flow rate in, and the flow rate out is 4 gallons per minute. So mag-iiba na yung volume na gagamitin natin to represent the concentration out. So let's write the given first. Anong ibig sabihin lang nito, guys? Mabagal, di ba? Mabilis yung pagpasok, di ba? Kasi nga 6 gallons per minute ang mismong solution, tapos mabagal yung drain. Siyempre, ang mangyayari niyan after a long time, madadagdagan yung mismong volume. Okay, 100 gallons of brine. Yan. So, yun yung volume. Volume is equal to, kasi yun yung nakalagay dun sa tank, 100 gallons. 10 pounds of salt is dissolved. Okay, so brine, ang ibig sabihin ng brine is salt solution din naman to. So, initially daw, at time is equal to 0, meron ka nang nakadissolve na salt doon na 10 pounds. Okay? And concentration in. So concentration in is equal to 0.2. 0.2 pounds per gallon. How about for the flow rate in? The flow rate in is 6 gallons per minute. And for, dito naman, sa concentration out, ito na yun, guys. Concentration out is equal to the amount over the volume. Sige, let's solve that later. Pero yung flow rate out niya kasi is 4 gallons per minute. Now, for this part, sa concentration out, sige, recall natin ha. We know that the flow rate is equal to volume over time. Diba? So, if we are asked to solve for the volume, ano yung volume na madadagdagan or ibabawas natin dyan? Minus ba or plus? Ganun. Since mababa yung flow rate out mo, syempre, mag-plus ka dyan. Depende sa difference. Ha? So, here, volume will be equal to the flow rate times time. Now, for the volume na ibabawas natin dito, sige, represent natin V sub O na lang. V sub O para hindi ka malito. Ayan, plus V sub O. Anyway, so here, this will be what? V sub O is R sub I minus R sub O kasi yung entering minus leaving times T. Okay? So in here, what is R sub I? R sub I is 6. What is R sub O? 4. So times T. So yung ating VO is equal to 2T. That's why yung magiging equation natin dito is X over what's the volume initially? So 100 minus or plus, kasi positive nga siya, plus 2T. Pero kung halimbawa mas mataas yung flow rate out, so negative yan dito, mababawasan yung volume. So 100 plus 2T. So ito yung nadagdag dyan sa concentration out. I hope it's clear. Let's now go to, so may sagot dito, 17.06 pounds. Verify natin kung tama. Proceed ako sa next. So required, you write the required. It says here that amount of salt after 10 minutes. So X after 10 minutes. And check the units kung naka-minutes, diba? Okay, tama. Naka 6 gallons per minute siya. Ayan, 4 gallons per minute. Check. Let's proceed now to the solution. So the equation is dx over dt is equal to rate in minus rate out. So Siri minus Coro. C sub I is the concentration in, which is 0.2. So 0.2 times flow rate in na 6 minus, tama, minus x over 100 plus 2t times 4. Now, let's rewrite our equation. Let's put this into standard form. So dx over dt, transposing this second term to the left side, it will become positive 4 over 100 plus 2t times x. Ayan, para naka-arrange na siya. Equals 0.2 times 6 is 1.2. Okay, now we have the equation in standard form. So ano yung ating p as a function of t? That is 4 over 100 plus 2t. And our q as a function of t is 1.2. Now we'll be solving for the integrating factor. That's the next step. So e raised to, itong 4, labas na natin siya. So 4 integral of dt over 100 plus 2t. So the answer to this will become what? Ito ln din naman siya, no? So if your u is, yeah, remember, u is equal to 100 plus 2t. If you need to know yung du niya, it should be what? 2 dt. So meron ka namang 4 dito, so pwede kang humingi ng 2 na dito, so factor out mo na lang. Or you put 2 and then divide by 2. So same lang din naman yan. So the answer to this is e raised to 2 ln of 100 plus 2t. Or this is what? E raised to ln of 100 plus 2t squared. Or simplify natin, 100 plus 2t squared na lang siya. Kasi e raised to ln, cancel na to. Okay, the next step is multiplying this integrating factor to the standard form. So 100 plus 2t squared, and times dx over dt plus 4 over 100 plus 2t times x equals 1.2. Magiging exact na to, di ba? Pag na-multiply na natin ng integrating factor. So the left member will be the integrating factor times the dependent variable na x equals, nasa right side, integral. So 1.2 ilalabas mo na siya kasi constant. Integral of the integrating factor, which is 100 plus 2t squared times dt plus c. Rewriting 100 plus 2t squared times x is equal to, so how do we solve this one? Power formula lang din, no? You need to have a neutralizing factor here. Yeah, if your u here, sabi nga, di ba, dapat 2 dt. So you need to put 2 dt. Di ba alam yung formula ng power formula, no? U raised to n du is u raised to n plus 1 over n plus 1. So ito yung mangyayari dito. So you put 2 here, satisfy, and then divide by 2 outside. Kaya yung magiging sagot, yan. Change to black again. So 1.2 divided by 2 is 0.6. No? So we have 0.6 times 100 plus 2t, power formula. Diba? So yung 2 magiging ano yan? 2 plus 1, so 3 over 3 plus C. So 0.6 divided by 3 is 0.2. So solving for x. So gagawin lang natin dito is you multiply or divide the entire equation by 100 plus 2t raised to 2 to solve for x. But prior to that, let's solve first for the value of arbitrary constancy. So lagay ko muna dito 100 plus 2t squared times x equal to 0.2 times 100 plus 2t raised to 3 plus c. May condition tayo, di ba? Sa given nakalagay, initially, the amount is 10 pounds. Time is equal to 0, the amount is 10 pounds. So plug in mo lang dyan. So 100, ibahin ko lang yung color para dun sa value ni arbitrary constant C. I'll be using a red. So 100 plus 2 times 0 and raised to 2 times 10 equals 0.2 and times 100 plus 2 times 0 raised to 3 and plus C. So C is equal to what? Sige, solve natin ha. So this will become 0. So 100 squared times 10. Ito maging 100 cubed. Tapos times 0.2. So in here, sa left side, 100 squared times 10. Tapos minus natin yung 0.2 times 100 cube. The answer, negative 100,000. Tama ba? Check nyo nga. Negative 100,000. So rewriting our solution, so solving for x. Okay, sulat ko muna. 100 plus 2t squared times x equal to 0.2. 0.2 times 100 plus 2t cube minus 100,000 yung value ni C. Then solving for x. Ayan, ang gagawin lang natin dito, so multiplying or dividing the entire equation by 100 plus 2t squared. So this becomes and 0.2 times 100 plus 2t raised to 3 minus 100,000 times 100 plus 2t raised to negative 2 or pwedeng i-divide mo na lang. Okay? Pero ito, the entire, ito makakancel na rin kasi doon. Diba? So this is x equals 0.2. Magiging ano lang to guys, 100 plus 2t. Cancel diba yung isa. Tapos minus 100,000. Ayan, divided by 100 plus 2t squared. Sige. So at time is equal to 10 minutes, what's the amount? So 0.2, 100 plus 2 times 10 minus 100,000 all over, or over 100 plus 2 times 10 raised to 2. The amount is equal to, calculator please, 24 yung nasa first term. So pangalawang term, minus 6.94. So x is equal to 17.06. Ayan, check natin kung tama ang sagot. Yes, we did it. 17.06 pounds. This is the final answer. So, tandaan niyo ha, yan yung mga, napakita ko naman yung two variations eh. So yung isa pa pala, maaaring mababa yung flow rate in kumpara dun sa flow rate out. So magiging negative naman yan dito. Ayan, minus naman. Kasi malalaman mo naman yan dito kapag na-solve mo na siya.